Brian, we good? All right, I'm gonna call to order the State of Rhode Island Coastal Resources Management semi-monthly meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, April 4, 2025. I would ask that the record reflect the council members that are present, as well as CRMC staff that are here this evening. First matter on our agenda will be approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, that being March 25, 2025. I know they've been disseminated. Has the council had an opportunity to review them? And if so, I would entertain a motion to approve them if you are so inclined. Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? That motion carries.
Chairman, before I was not here at the meeting, so I
Abstain?
have to abstain.
Okay. Let the record reflect that he abstained. Staff reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a couple items to go over tonight. As you know, I was not here at the last meeting. Deputy Director Miguel said informed me because I was down in Washington, D.C. It's part of the annual requirement that all coastal programs and research reserves are required to go down to D.C., meet with our NOAA counterparts and go over annual work programs, some issues that are going on at the federal level, come together to help other state programs and what they might be doing, kind of sharing of information, if you will. But as you can imagine, last week, a lot of the discussion revolved around what's happening with financial implications with the federal government and various programs being cut for a number of different reasons. Environmental programs were also part of the reduction in some of the funding that the current administration has targeted. And as you can imagine, the NOAA funds, which under the NOAA umbrella, there are several agencies underneath that. NOAA gets well over $1 billion that it has to mete out to all the other federal agencies, one of which is an agency that funds the coastal programs in the country, and that's the Office for Coastal Management. That is where CRMC gets upwards of 50% of its funding. The problem with those cuts to a number of programs at the federal level is that NOAA received one direction from the administration to reduce its total budget by 12% as a top line hit, with no other direction than that. It didn't say how, it didn't say what type of program should be targeted. It just said reduce, here's your reduced funding, it's reduced by 12%. Give us a spending plan on how you're going to meet that in 30 days. That 30 days is about up now because the Office for Coastal Management, which is under NOAA, has no idea how NOAA is going to mete out that money at a 12% cut to state agencies and other programs like the CRMC. So this time of year, all coastal programs usually have their federal allocation in hand so that we can submit an award application back to NOAA in April at the latest. We haven't gotten that information yet. We don't know how we're going to put in our budget because we don't know what type of funding we're going to get. So a lot of the conversation obviously revolved around those types of issues and how to deal with it. And we honestly got no other direction than what I'm telling you now. It's just basically hold on, wait and see. We'll do the best we can. But when you talk to the staffers down there, they fully expect that 12% top line item will filter down to the Office for Coastal Management and probably result in a 10% cut to all the coastal programs from what they got last year. If that's the case, that's significant for this agency. We got $1.7 million last year at 10%. That's $170,000. And that because all of our operating expenses come out of the federal account, none of them come out of the state account. We will have to find a way to where that 170 comes from in the federal, if that's what we get hit with in our federal award. On top of that, the state of Rhode Island has asked us to incorporate in our federal award a indirect cost of between 7 and 14%. Indirect costs are allowed in any federal application that you put in to help administrative costs behind on the back end. And so our OMB, the state OMB, has asked us to incorporate an indirect cost in that federal award. So that upwards of 10% less that we'll probably get from OCM is going to be hit even harder with this indirect cost that we have to incorporate to that. I'll keep you up to speed on what's going on there, but that's the latest on some of the financial issues we're getting out of DC. Last week, I'll stay on the finance theme. Last week, I had to present our state budget to the House and Senate Finance Committees. If you don't know, the state budget is submitted by all state programs in September and October of any given year for the next fiscal year that would start in July. Our application went to OMB back in the fall. The governor released his budget with ours intact, and there are turnover savings that we have to reach within that state budget. However, none of those questions really came up in front of the House or Senate Finance Committees. A lot of the questions that they had were more along the lines of some of the work that the agency's doing. Wind farm, one of the matters is the fab. There was a question that came up on that. Rights of way came up. So there wasn't much more direction from the state, at least from the House and Senate Finance Committees, on financial issues. But they are concerned with what we do, and they ask some very good questions along those lines. The two more things, the Washington Bridge demolition. As you can imagine, if you're following the news, there's been issues with debris still falling into the water. We are notified probably within minutes of that happening by DOT, their contractors through DOT. So we have helped DOT and their contractors get a handle on those issues immediately by telling them what they need to do to get that material out of the water, how to minimize any further impacts, make sure that they supply that information to us in a very timely fashion, rather than just letting the debris sit there or having a contractor go in with a backhoe and just tear it out. So we've been working with DOT very closely on that and making sure that while these things happen in construction, to address them quickly and efficiently and as least impact as possible is what we're trying to help DOT accomplish. And that appears to be working pretty well with them. I did get questions about that from Senate Finance as well. And then lastly, Dr. Reuter, our newest appointee, who will be here hopefully any minute now, has gone through the training like you all have gone through. So when he sits, he'll be able to sit not only as a member of the council for quorum purposes, but also as a voting member. I met with him last week up at his office, and we sat for about 2 hours and went over a lot of different issues. As you all know, we walked through a PowerPoint presentation. We walked through the program. He had several great questions, insightful questions on the program and some of the things that you all do up here. So looking forward to have him sitting as a voting member. And that's it, Mr. Chair.
Any questions of Director Willis and the council?
Did I get the math right, Joe?
I speak for myself, but I'm willing to take a pay cut.
Joe Russolino, got it.
Subcommittee reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Rights of Way Subcommittee met earlier today. I had a very full agenda. It looked at issues that the subcommittee has on its plate of late, one with the Buttonwoods Warwick right-of-way matter, one with Everett Avenue and Westerly right-of-way, and a continuation of the issues associated with the Spring Avenue extension out of Westerly. A number of decisions were made by the subcommittee, notably that on the Buttonwoods matter, we are going to continue the matter of all matters consisting of the right-of-way issue for Buttonwoods, as well as a motion for summary judgment by the petitioner is moved for decision by the subcommittee to May 27th. Now, for Everett Avenue, the subcommittee agreed that the work that this council did a couple of decades ago was worthy and complete to forward a recommendation that the Everett Avenue right-of-way be declared public. That'll come to the full council from the subcommittee after this action today. And then the Spring Ave extension still will have a lot of work in front of this subcommittee, where today they denied a motion to stay some of the work that the subcommittee is doing on Spring Ave in deference to the Superior Court dealing with similar procedural issues. But the subcommittee denied that motion and would continue its work to move forward with the possible designation of Spring Ave as a right of way.
Okay, any questions of Director Willis? On that? All right, next matter on the agenda is confirmation of the Fishermen's Advisory Board members. We'll turn it over to
I'll start, Mr.
Director
Chair.
Willis.
I'm going to ask Kevin Sloan to go into a little more detail, but if you all remember, back in December of 23, we were basically juggling 4 wind farm matters in front of this agency. And that particular year, you saw 4 come your way from the summer right into the winter. And the Fishermen's Advisory Board, as constituted at that time, came to all those meetings, had very strong opinions on those particular projects that were not necessarily in line with what the staff was recommending and what the council ultimately did recommend. After the last one that we did in December of 23, the FAB resigned en masse. And so we did not have a Fishermen's Advisory Board from that point forward for most of 2024. Kevin and I and staff tried to reach out to the guys to get them to come back on. We were unsuccessful with that. We reached out to the Commercial Fishermen's Research, the Commercial Fishermen's Center, and asked them to maybe use their board as a proxy for the FAB. Those conversations went back and forth for a little while. Those were unsuccessful. So then we had to basically open it up and solicit for a new FAB, and I'll let Kevin explain that process.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Willis. Like Director Willis said, we eventually opened up essentially the a solicitation for new members to the Fishermen's Advisory Board. That was successful, which was fantastic. We fielded a lot of interest from folks with various backgrounds from around the state. Had conversations with all of them, and the folks that we have put forward are very interested. They're very passionate. They have a varied background, whether it be commercial fishing, dragging, seafood processing, construction project management, et cetera. So we're really excited to bring these folks on board. And as an addition, it's the FAB's role to provide information on potential impacts, negative, neutral, and positive, of different projects that occur both within Rhode Island waters, but also in the offshore environment and federal waters. That's alluding to offshore wind mostly. But the advice that they will provide will include but not be limited to the evaluation and planning of project location, arrangement, and alterations, micrositing of infrastructure to minimize negative impacts, limitations to fishery access created by a project or activity, and measures to mitigate those potential impacts. So as with the previous FAB members, the same ask is a lot. We are simply asking them to bring their experience, their expertise, and knowledge and willingness to, kind of go on the steep learning curve with us. So with that, we have put forward 9 members. There is, I believe, 1 member on the list that the council has, Spencer Bode or Bode. He has withdrawn his name from consideration. So we have 9 members in total. And as well as Mike McGivney, who will serve as an alternate FAB member for Jeff Grant. So we just want to make sure he is also included, even though he was not on the list provided to the council.
And if I could just expand on that, Jeff Grant is representing the Rhode Island Shell Fishermen's Association. Mike McGivney is the president of that association. So the association is being represented with 2 members, which is allowed under the Ocean SAMP.
Right, and I'll expand a little bit further. One thing that makes the potential membership that we put forward exciting is that we have folks from around the state. We have folks in Bristol and Newport. We have folks up in the Bay and the West Passage. So we really have representation from across the state, which will be really helpful going forward. As we're considering projects like the South Coast Wind offshore export cable, which is coming up the Secana River. So all that to say, we are confident in the members or the potential members that we put forward, and look forward to the council's decision.
Any questions of Kevin from the council?
One question. So will the fab be part of this South Coast Wind project at all and have any input into that one? Or will it be the next wind farm that comes in front of the council?
Right, so no, they will be involved in the South Coast project. We are actually, I'll be sending out a Zoom invite tomorrow, most likely for next week. We will have an onboarding meeting, so to speak, where we will go over the South Coast project at a decently detailed level, discuss the in and outs, solicit initial feedback from the members. And we're already working on scheduling in-person meetings with the South Coast Wind team and future virtual and or in-person meetings as well. So we're really getting them input while also being very conscious not to repeat the situation with the previous fab where meetings after meetings after meetings leading to burnout. So we're being conscious of that as well.
Thank you.
We need a motion to confirm.
Please, Mr. Chair.
All right. If there's no questions of the staff as it relates to the proposed names at this point, then I'd entertain a motion to confirm the seating of the names that we have before us for composition of the Fishermen's Advisory Board.
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Mr. Gagnon. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Flynn. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I just have a question on that.
Sure.
Is that excluding the appointment of Spencer Bode?
Mr. Bode and include Mr. McGivney as an alternate.
Yes, please.
All right. We need to strike because he's on the agenda.
This is the one right here.
Okay. Okay, that motion's been made and seconded. Hearing no discussion, I'll pull the council. Mr. Flynn,
Aye.
Mr. Izzy,
Aye.
Mr. Russolino,
Aye.
Dr. Ruda,
Aye.
Mr. Gagnon,
Aye.
Ms. Reynolds.
Aye.
I too, Raymond Coy, vote aye. So those 9 names with the addition of Mike McGivney have been
You see?
approved.
Thank you.
All right, next before us, for presentation, consideration and action of funding under the state's Coastal and Estuary Habitat Restoration Trust Fund. We have projects that will be discussed, and I believe Bruce and Emily are handling this. Yes, oh, we have something behind us.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So on the agenda tonight, we have the Coastal and Estuarine Habitat Restoration Program and Trust Fund. We have the Technical Advisory Committee's recommendations for the funding cycle for fiscal year 24 and 25. But before we get into this year's TAC recommendation, we thought for the benefit of council members, particularly the new council members, we just go over what is the Coastal and Estuarine Habitat Restoration Program and Trust Fund, and just kind of give a little bit of a history and what we do here at CRMC with this program. So the trust fund was enabled through state law. This is the 23rd year that CRMC has been administering this program. It's been a long-standing program here at CRMC. A lot of successful projects, and this is just the enabling legislation that allows us to conduct it. So where does this funding come from? We get $225,000 annually from the Oil Spill Prevention Administration and Response Fund. And it funds coastal and estuarine habitat restoration projects. CRMC administers it, and it is, and recommendations are from the Technical Advisory Committee. For this year's Technical Advisory Committee, they're a great group of people that generously donate their time and expertise to helping this program out. They're from Rhode Island DEM, NIMNR, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Restore America's Estuaries, the EPA, and NOAA. So what type of projects do we typically fund? We fund marsh restorations, we fund seagrass, eelgrass beds, shellfish beds, fish ladders, and improvement of fish ladders to help migratory fish come up the rivers. And we also do some coastal dunes and bluffs and some upland and coastal upland vegetation restoration projects here. So the goals of the program and what habitat projects we're trying to fund when we review these applications. We're trying to improve the ecological functions for finfish, shellfish, wildlife, spawning areas, water quality maintenance, pollution removal, and a number of things, mosquito control and somewhat resiliency projects for flood and storm damage as well. So this is the history over the last 23 years of the funding. So over 23 years, we've allocated over $5 million worth of funding to go towards these habitat projects. But we've also leveraged over 36 million into the fund. So those are federal funds, local funds that are coming into Rhode Island to help this program. So it's pretty significant how much funding has gone into this. And this is just a distribution of where the projects that have been funded have been in Rhode Island. So every year we try to equally distribute it throughout the state. You can see we've done a pretty good job over that over the last 23 years, trying to hit all corners of the states and different habitat types. So I just wanted to share a couple successful projects we've had in the last couple of years. This is the Barrington Beach Salt Marsh Adaptation Project. And here it might be a little hard to see, but this is the before image. There is the marsh up there located in the center of the screen. It was impounded with water. It wasn't flowing very well at all. There was a culvert that was clogged up and it was really having a negative impact on the marsh. And this is the after photo. As you can see, the marsh grew back. There's a picture in the bottom left there of the next year. So the culvert was opened up, the flow was restored. We opened up the flow along the barrier beach there as well. And it was a really successful marsh restoration project that we've had. Another project recently, this is the Hamilton Mill Dam. This is in North Kingstown along Boston Neck Road. So this is a herring run in the spring. So if you went there right now, you'd like to see some herring, going up this fish ladder. But before this project, the fish actually weren't able to go up the ladder due to some of the elevations and the way it was designed originally. So what we did is we funded this project to fix it, to allow for a much easier fish passage. And today it's functioning much better. And this is another project we funded in East Providence. This is Rose Larissa Park. This was a living shorelines project to prevent erosion from the bluff right there. We vegetated the area and it's been working pretty well to prevent further erosion of the bluff. And one more example, this is the Bradford Dam removal in Westerly. Again, this is to remove a dam to allow for safer and better fish migration and fish passage up the river. And with that, I'll pass it over to Emily Hall to go over the tax recommendation for this year.
Excellent. Thank you, Bruce, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for having us this evening. So I'm here as the CRMC member who is on the Technical Advisory Committee and to answer any of the specific questions the council may have for the projects that we recommended this year. On your screen now are the specific evaluation criteria from the enabling legislation. And this is here more as a reference, and what the Technical Advisory Committee does is we each individually have a ranking system. So all of these points 1 through 9 here, we'll assign different points. Every member will individually review them, and then we collate all of those scores, and then we'll discuss them and assign funding from that. So the award process in December of last year, we had our pre-proposals due, and those outlined the potential projects. And then we responded to those pre-proposals in February, requesting full applications for projects. And then by March, those applications were due. The TAC met, we made our recommendations, and now we are here in front of you this evening for requesting council approval. So these are our recommendations for 2025. I will briefly read through them, and then we'll reserve the rest of the time for questions if there's any confusion. So the first is located in Providence. This is the Woonasquatucket River Stream Bank Stabilization. This is a planning award with $50,000 that we are recommending. The next is in Westerly for restoring a coastal buffer marsh migration corridor. So this was a small ask of $5,000 from the town for essentially marsh plantings in areas of the parking lot that are not usable due to sea level rise. An ask of $65,000 was put in by DEM in South Kingstown for a thin layer deposition project on Secatosh and Potter Ponds. And then next we have another ask from DEM and in part CRMC. So a few of us recused ourselves from this particular review for the restoration of coastal habitats along Winnipesaukee Pond. And that award recommendation is for just shy of $84,000. And then finally, a request from Audubon in Jamestown for salt marsh habitat improvement, which is largely focused on invasive species. And we will wrap that there for now and reserve the extra slides we have for if there's specific questions about these projects. Thank you.
Any questions from the council or Bruce or Emily?
I have one, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Did we already see something for the Woonasquatucket?
We did.
Okay.
So
Memory is still working.
absolutely. Bruce, would you mind going to the next slide? So this has been long supported by the Habitat Trust Fund. It's a very tricky area. So this is in Providence. If you can see that small yellow box, it is a very extreme river bend. And the grants have been leveraged pretty efficiently so far. We had a similar question during the application process of, we've given you a lot of money. What have you done with it? They gave us a very thorough budget review. The TAC discussed it in depth and we said, you know what, they're still doing a great job and we think that this still needs to be done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions? No? Anything else to add, Bruce or Emily?
No,
No,
for me.
thank you, Mr. Chair.
So at this time, we'll ask for a motion, if the council is so inclined, to approve the recommendation.
Motion to approve.
So a motion's been,
Funding under the state's coastal estuary habitat restoration trust fund.
all right, one motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Russolino, second by Ms. Reynolds. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll poll the council. Mr. Flynn,
Aye.
Mr. Izzy,
Aye.
Mr. Russolino,
Aye.
Dr. Ruder,
Aye.
Mr. Gagnon,
I,
Ms. Reynolds.
Aye.
I too, Raymond Coy, vote aye. Thank you both for the presentation and the fine work that you did on this. Brings us to number 6 on our agenda, application which has been out to notice and up before the council for review and action. With 2025-02-016 Quonset Development Corporation. It's an application as it relates to the proposed project consisting of installing a wave attenuator system along the north side of Pier 2 pile supported extension known as the Pier 2 extension, which is at Assessor Plat 193, Lot 15, and the Port of Davidsville, Quonset Business Park. The purpose of the wave and attenuator system will be to minimize wave energy and decrease wave height, hereby protecting the launching, berthing, testing and retrieval of prototype sea glider vehicles and other small commercial watercraft along the western side of the Pier 2 extension located at Plat 193, Lot 15, 242 Terminal Way, North Kingston, Rhode Island. A gentleman here on that one?
We are.
All right, Richard. And I believe, Rich, you have this one for us?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So this is a 220-foot long wave attenuator, which will be secured to steel piles. And the wave attenuator consists of 3 48-inch diameter plastic pipes latched together to form a frame. The system extends approximately 84 inches into the water column. And since it doesn't reach the bottom to the mud line, it should provide for flushing and circulation of the tidal system. The wave attenuator is being proposed to protect the watercraft and facilities along the western side of the Pier 2, as well as the area where a startup company called Regent will be based. Regent is in the process of manufacturing and testing what they call a sea glider. The sea glider will be on an all-electric passenger carrying vessels. I think it's 12 passenger. Essentially, they look like small planes that only fly very low over the water. The wave attenuator structure is designed using the guidance set forth in the Rhode Island Coastal Resource Management Program using the marine standards to provide for longevity and security of the structure. As note, there has been no objections received for this project, and actually the town of North Kingstown has also submitted a no objections to the project. It is the staff's opinion that the wave attenuator meets the standards and policies of the Rhode Island Coastal Resource Management Program. Therefore, staff has no objections and recommends approval of the project.
Any questions of Rich from the council? So if you could identify yourself, please.
Yep, I'm Gregory J. Corrente, Director of Engineering and Construction for Quonset Development Corporation.
Anything to add to, we've got the application. I know staff has had an opportunity to review it and comment this evening. So if there's anything you'd like to add.
No, it's a simple application this time. So I think Rich pretty much covered all the details. Anybody had any questions about the specific construction of the attenuator or anything like that?
Any questions from the council? Mr. Flynn?
Are there any other locations in the vicinity of the piers at Quonset that might also benefit from this sort of a system?
Sorry, just before we provide testimony, I'd swear, man.
Okay,
Sorry to interrupt your question. Sir, will you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Will you please state and spell your name for the record, please?
Certainly. Gregory J. Corrente. Spell first name too?
No,
That's just the last name, C-O-R-E-N.
sorry, Mr. Flynn, I just wanted to make
That's
sure
quite all right.
that he's going into substantive matters that he's on the record.
Are there any other locations in the vicinity of the piers at Quonset that would also benefit from this sort of a construction in the future?
It's a great question, Mr. Flynn. So previously, in front of the council, we had permitted the Blue Economy facility, the Blue Economy floating docks and fixed pier system. And that's, for everyone's knowledge, that's under construction with the Terminal 5 pier as well. We had in that permit application provided for a fixed wave attenuator, a fixed fence wave attenuator. At the time, there was no funding to install that particular structure, so we're looking at ways to fund that. But this is going to provide us an opportunity to vet this system for application down at that location as well. So while this exists at the very northernmost part of the port, the Blue Economy docks facility is at the very most southern part of the port. So,
Which I think would be more prone to get for wave action.
It's interesting. So it's actually right where the Blue Economy facility is. It's relatively protected by the bulkhead constructed for the airport, for the Rhode Island Quonset Airport. However, in the northern end of the facility, we have a 5-mile fetch distance that hits directly into the pier extension area. So we're going to look at the potential for also using this particular technology at the Blue Economy facility as well and see how this vets out.
Okay, thank you for that.
Any other questions? Dr. Ruder?
Has any of these been set up, it might not be a question for you, around the state? Have we used this before locally?
I've never seen this system used.
Either, that's why I'm.
But
It's
we've had,
doable.
But
we've
we've
had
had-
concrete floats that are used. And again, there's wave fences, that's typically what used, but it's, I would say, in between the concrete floats, these big heavy wave attenuator floats. And the marinas sometimes have these wave fences. But nothing like these tubular plastic devices that I've seen.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there anyone else present this evening that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Anyone present this evening to speak in opposition of the application? Hearing and seeing none, is the council in a posture for a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the application of Quonset Development Corporation for the wave attenuation system.
Motion's been made by Mr. Flynn. Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Mr. Gagnon. Any discussion? If none, I'll pull the council. Mr. Flynn,
Aye.
Mr. Izzy,
Aye.
Mr. Russolino,
Aye.
Dr. Ruder,
Aye.
Mr. Gagnon,
Aye.
Ms. Reynolds.
Aye.
I too, Raymond Coy, vote aye. The application is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
You're welcome. Seeing nothing else on our agenda to come before us this evening, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries.